Welcome to the Explainer. Okay, let's just jump right in. What if the history you learned in school wasn't just biased? What if it was a complete fabrication? Today, we're digging into a pretty radical theory from the book Encrypted Reality, which claims our entire past is basically an elaborate encrypted illusion.
Okay, this quote from the author really it sets the whole stage, right? The core idea isn't just that our history books have a slant. No, it's that they're part of a massive, constructed lie. So, if our entire past was made up, the biggest question has to be, who did it? Who was behind it all?
All right, so the theory kicks off with this idea of a secret society and a deception so big it claims to have literally rewritten time itself.
So the book points the finger at a group it calls the Watch. And who were they? Well, picture this, a secret network of Renaissance intellectuals. The theory says they used the brand new printing press, the hottest tech of the day, to just mass-produce forged ancient texts. And their goal? To create this totally bogus historical timeline that served their powerful patrons, like the Vatican. They were even supposedly inserting phantom events into the record just to make history seem way deeper than it actually was.
Okay, but this is where the theory takes a turn from just a secret society to something way crazier. It's not just some shadowy committee pulling the strings. Nope. The claim is that the whole operation revolved around one single person, an operative who wore multiple masks to orchestrate events across different continents.
They give this operative a code name G. Now, the book describes G not as some immortal being, but more like a recurring role, an eternal handler who pops up in different identities all throughout history, always there to guide civilization according to some hidden master plan.
And this right here, this is the theory's most shocking claim. It argues that three of the most monumental, world-changing figures in history were actually the same person. I mean, just look at this. You got the Renaissance genius Leon Battista Alberti over in Europe. Then you have Nezahualcoyotl, the founder of the Aztec Empire in Mesoamerica, and Pachacuti, the founder of the Incan Empire in the Andes. All of them, the theory says, were the same operative, G.
So how do they back this up? Well, the argument hinges on what the book calls impossible synchronicities. And just take a look at this timeline. All three of these historical figures are recorded as being born right around 1402, and then dying around 1472. But here's the real kicker. Get this, the fathers of both Alberti and Nezahualcoyotl, they supposedly died in the exact same year, 1418. The book's whole point is that this is just way too precise to be a coincidence. It's like a fingerprint, a signature of a single, coordinated life story.
Okay, so that leads to a pretty obvious question, right? If you have the secret network, led by this globe-trotting agent, how on earth do you communicate securely and leave your mark across centuries without anyone ever finding out?
Well, the theory's answer is pretty clever. They didn't use messages that could be stolen or intercepted. Instead, they supposedly used unbreakable codes hidden right out in the open. Things that were both secret messages and, a signature of their work.
Okay, signature number one, the infamous Voynich Manuscript. Now, the theory frames this not as just some weird, old, undeciphered book, but as a deliberate calling card left by G. I mean, think about it. It's carbon dated to the exact time Alberti was active in Europe, right? But it's filled with detailed drawings of plants and minerals that are native to the Americas. And the text itself, it follows real linguistic patterns, which leads the author to call it a verbose cipher. Basically, a message that was designed to be unsolvable, a piece of proof of their global reach.
All right, signature number two, according to the theory, is found over in the Americas with the Khipu. The claim is that G, when he was playing the part of the Incan founder Pachacuti, introduced this system of knotted strings. But here's the twist. It wasn't just for record keeping. It was a physical cryptogram. Every single color, the type of knot, its position on the string, it all held secret data. And only initiated spies knew the key. To anyone else, it's just a bunch of knotted ropes. I mean, what a perfect unbreakable cipher hiding in plain sight.
But this network's alleged influence goes way beyond just secret messages. The theory claims they weren't just manipulating information. They were controlling the flow of technology, and, by doing that, they controlled the very timeline of history itself.
The book points to this really suspicious pattern of what it calls lost and found knowledge. Let's take Roman concrete, for example. This stuff was amazing, super advanced, used everywhere back in the 1st century. But then, the formula was supposedly lost for over 1,000 years. Gone. Poof. Only to suddenly reappear during the Renaissance. So the theory argues it was never lost. It was deliberately held back, controlled by the Watch, and they only redeployed it when it fit into their grand plan. And this is where it gets really, really deep. This alleged manipulation supposedly goes all the way to the foundational figures of science and math. Fibonacci. The book claims his famous discovery story from 1202 was actually made up, like centuries later. It argues that the first real evidence we have of the sequence doesn't even show up until 1509. The suggestion is that Fibonacci himself might have been a historical fiction, a character created to explain this recycled knowledge and make it fit into their fabricated timeline.
So, all this recycled knowledge allegedly gave the Watch what the theory calls its 3 pillars of global control. You've got the printing press, right? That's control of information. Then you have firearms for control of physical power, and finally the nautical compass for control over geography and exploration. With those 3 pieces of tech in their hands, they had pretty much everything they needed to rewrite history and spread their influence across the entire planet.
Okay, which brings us to the biggest question of all. Why? Why would anyone go to these incredible lengths to fabricate all of history? What could possibly be the motive for deception on this scale?
The book's answer is that the single most powerful tool for controlling the masses is a recurring story. And as this quote says, no story grabs us quite like the belief that the end is near. So the ultimate goal, it claims, was to manage all of humanity through a standardized end-of-the-world blueprint.
And the theory says you can see this template in mythologies all over the world. The Norse Ragnarok, the Hindu Kali Yuga, the Christian Book of Revelation, the Mesoamerican 5 Sons myth. The list goes on. The argument is that these aren't separate, unique stories. They are all just different flavors of a single, standardized psychological operation, a psyop designed to control people by getting them used to these massive cycles of destruction and then renewal.
Now look, this has been a super fast run-through of a really, really complex theory. There's a lot more to it. So, if you want to dive deeper into this whole intricate web of claims, the author has made the full source material available on their website.
And really, that just leaves us with the final big question at the heart of this whole explainer. What if history isn't a record of what actually happened, but is instead an elaborate encryption, just waiting for someone to finally solve it?